done some work. So this is kind of like me messing around with the previous still life. I've since set up a new still life. Oops. It's the one with lavender. But this one, I decided just to mess around with form. So this is done blind with just line. I really, really like that actually. There's something quite interesting in that. This is not. This was just a really quick, fast one. Again, at a Sharpie, very much linear. And then I decided, wouldn't it be great to do something similar in watercolour? Because you know I love my watercolour. And by the way, this is the best fish I've rendered. I really like that fish. Now, I know I'm obsessed with the fish. Do you want me to show you the fish? This is the fish. I keep rendering. This is the fish. It's a chopstick mount that one would put on a table. My mother had it. I think she had a set, but only one survived. My still life amongst a sea of lavender. Make of that what you will. And then I decided to do a little kind of rendering in the watercolour with the idea of actually going on top in the Sharpie. But I love the watercolour on its own so much that I haven't brought myself to do it. I went out on a day trip the other day with my husband and I decided to draw trees within this little sketchbook that I had. And I decided to bring them home and do little sort of studies with them. So this morning I did, which is graphite. I really like that one. Almost like a little warm up for me. I then did copies of the studies that I had done here. So you had sort of tree 1 and then tree 2. I really like them. They were in, excuse me. They were just copies of the sketches I'm about to show you. So it's this one, that one. So that one, I like that one, and then this one. See it? That one and that one. They were like, so I did these little sketches on the drive. So these were blind. I really like those. This was just of the hills, and then there was that one, and then I did that one out of ink. There, it's just that one, which I really like. And then I did that bad boy, which I haven't finished yet. Ink background, and then this is willow charcoal or charcoal on top. But I basically, what I do is I do it in layers. Because this is quite a temperament material, like a temperament medium, as you can see. You see it? Yeah, there you go. I decided to fix it slightly, and then what I'll do is I'll go back into it to finish that off. It's not nowhere near finished, so I'll do that at some point. I can't be bothered right now. That's the problem when you have other engagements, you know. I found that this evening, I got into a flow of things, so I was really excited about what I was working on, setting up the new still life, which I filmed, as you've seen. Really excited about my progress. I had the deliveries of books, which I really wanted to get into. This is a still life I'd done, but I didn't like as an entirety. So I cut the bottom off because it was offensive. And I cut this bit off and then just kept a little swatch of cherries, and I thought I'll get rid of this. But I really like the J cloth and how like the shadow and the thingies, and there's something I like about it. I just don't like it in its entirety, but there is elements of it I like. So I've almost finished an A3 sketchbook. What I found useful is when you, like, what I've been doing is I've been working on one, making a ground or what have you, and then I've been waiting for that to dry. Whilst I'm waiting for that to dry, I start on number 2. And then obviously when I finish number 1, I will then start on number 2 and then start number 3. So that's my thinking. I do have the A2 bits of paper, but I don't have anything that I want to put on a standalone artwork right now. I think I pushed myself too hard, and then I discouraged myself when I had created the 2 abominations that we saw last week, which for me was a few weeks ago now, but even so, they linger on your psyche, unfortunately. Well, I've got the still life set up for tomorrow. I think it's too late now to start anything major. So what time is it now? Yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night. I used to be a night owl, and I think a lot of artists are actually. I think it's when the world goes quiet, there's less distraction. I think I'm quite a distracted person, so you know, working at night was always quite beneficial to me because there wasn't anything open, there was nothing to see, there was nothing to distract me, everyone else was in bed. So I found it a really productive time to work. But because I've got other responsibilities, the dogs, walking, everything else, I need to keep to quite a strict sleep schedule now. I'm just going to pin these pages back so that they flat. What I sometimes do overnight, especially with now this book is getting quite one-sided, quite chunky monkey on one side. What I found useful is to pin that side back overnight so it kind of flattens out a bit. What I'm going to do is keep it here to remind me to do some studies of this still life, and then I'll continue to work through this still life in the other sketchbook as well. I think that's going to be quite useful. So if I was to kind of do it on 2 sketchbooks, I'll be able to get there further, faster. That's the plan anyway. All good plans in that. I finished one and it took me less than a month. Well, a month, let's say a month. May 2022 to June 2022. This is quite significant in that it's the first one, and I think that it's like when I'm kind of referring to some of the things in it, it's like whiplash. It's like you're reading the diaries of someone with a personality disorder, which is to be expected really. It's all a bit over the place, and I'm happy, I'm fine with that. So we've got Sketchbook Tour 01. You will have seen that one right at the beginning. It was one of the first watercolours I'd done. This is just a graphite version, graphite and water, more my style. This, I'm not really a fan of any of this. I think I was just in a flunk. I really have no direction. However, they did inform these 2 woodlands. So it's all about sort of filling the negative space or cutting in. I did both 1 ink and 1 acrylic. Really enjoy that specific process. A larger version here of that. Trying to be a bit more loose with the paintbrush, not be so considerate of the lines. Just kind of going in there and making as many marks as possible. That's key with that specific style. Meadow in a creamer, again, this was done on the same style, but you can see it more in the teapot and the creamer. That's ink and acrylic on all of them. Really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that. I'll probably make prints out of them. Beach creature and some pebbles out of watercolour. Enjoyed doing them. Larger version of the still life. You'll have seen A2 versions of them. I liked them, liked the marks that I made. These were just 2 exercises. I'm really not a fan of either of them, but they were just out of acrylic. I think this is where I start to really approach my style, especially with the use of text, and you can see it more in this one with the use of sort of text in, like, very much like poster. Love the marks, love the loose approach. Just an exercise that I was trying something out, a naive rendering of the view in my back garden. Not really a fan, but it was a good marks. I really like that. This was inspired by Sandy Hester. I was just trying something new, trying something out. I enjoyed doing it. I think it informed a lot. These were individual objects. This also, the last Meadow in a Creamer you'll see. After that, literally, I had thrown it out. It was just attracting wildlife. The Prawn Me poster, mixed media, and then I had put a film over it. I really like that. I quite often do individual pieces. I overworked this. I think this is an ink and acrylic, really overworked, but I kept it because it was a good experiment. Blind drawing of a tree, loved the shapes. And this is the secondary piece, but in graphite, so this is a bit more overworked, but I don't mind in graphite. Look at those marks. So beautifully done. Love that piece. This was just an exercise. I was trying something out, trying something new. I don't think they were successful in any way, but they were just little studies, really. This was an extension of those studies. That piece that big piece was in charcoal. This was just one study I had done from the lavender still life, and then I took the 2 bottles out of it and tried to create those objects in as little marks as possible. I was in a bit of a block, so I decided to watercolour all of the stones I had in my house. These were just some exercises that I had done that other artists do if they get in a flunk, like take rubbings, put loads of marks down on paper, not really thinking about making anything specific, just seeing what happens, experimenting. And they actually did help me get out of quite a substantial artistic flunk, I have to say. I really enjoyed doing that. I would suggest anyone looks at what other artists do to do that. This was just a blind study of the inside of my home. This was acrylic and graphite. It was a cliff face from a beach walk I went on that day. That was fun, that was good. These have recently been rendered on an A2. This is the sort of start of a very unique series. This is also an extension of that series. This is graphite and white ink. The marks are fantastic. Some technical renderings of some of the objects I have had in my still lifes, and then the syrup bottle was just done on ink and water there on those 2 individual ones there. This was a dish that I had lying around. That's ink and acrylic. Those are just some swatches from an art haul, and those are goals that I'm going to maintain until the next sketchbook tour, so watch out for that one. When I think about what I've done in this book, you know, this one so far, I'm quite happy with it. Kind of looking through it now, I'm thinking, yeah, quite happy. And I've done some experimenting, kind of, you can see that it's a bit sort of all over the place, I'll be honest, higgledy-piggledy. But I'm okay with that. I like something about each piece, I do. I'm going to sign off. Toodles.